What does this mean of not being able to pass this rule to get this defense bill?
It means
another blow?
five.
But isn't this another blow to you to try to get this done?
You think it's a blow. I just think it's another challenge.
Well, I know, but most speakers are able to get their own defense spending bills on the floor.
Yeah, but you think it's over. I assume when something hard happens in your life, you quit. I don't quit.
That was House Speaker Kevin McCarthy yesterday saying that he will not quit on the government funding showdown. The House failed to advance a defense spending bill yesterday after 5 Republicans voted with the Democrats to defeat it. Republicans are also canceling a proposed procedural vote to allow the continuing resolution to move forward. 12 GOP lawmakers reportedly plan to vote no on the short-term funding bill. All this needing to happen before September 30th, before the government runs out of money or we see a government shutdown. Joining me right now is Florida Congressman Greg Steube, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. 2 bills failing to move forward that I guess the House was counting on. Can you give us a status check? Where are we?
Yeah, we're in a place where the rank and file hasn't been given any direction as to what's next. We had a conference meeting with all the members yesterday morning before these votes, and I thought Debbie Lesko had a great idea. She said, let's take the Limit, Save, Grow Act, the bill that we passed, the conservative bill that we passed to cut spending, conservative principles. Every member of the Republican conference voted for that. Couple that with H.R. 2, which is our border package, and push that forward and send that to the Senate. That's a conservative bill. It cuts spending. It does the type of things that we need to do to get our economy back on track, to get our spending back on track. The American people did not put us in charge of the House to do CRs with Democrats to fund the government. They put us in charge of the House to stand on American principles, to stand on good cuts in spending, to bring back up our economy, and to shut down the border.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a great point, and that's why many of your colleagues are crying foul, saying, I'm not going to go along with this. This continuing resolution is controversial because it doesn't really cut funding, does it? I mean, yeah, it's Nancy Pelosi spending. It's also likely to include the money to Ukraine, $24 billion to Ukraine. Is that right?
Yeah, so the CR that they were attempting to put up that got pulled because they didn't have the votes was continuing. A CR is the continuing resolution to fund the government of the spending that we've put in place over the last several years. And just to give you a quick reboot on what that is, we've gone from a $21 trillion deficit 5 years ago to a $33 trillion deficit. We've put 40% on the debt just in the years that Nancy Pelosi was Speaker. I don't want to continue that. The CR that they wanted to put up would have cut like 7.5, like 8% overall, and keep defense spending and VA spending separate from that. But why do a CR? Pass a conservative bill that cuts spending, that funds the border wall and shuts down the border and does the conservative things that Americans put us in charge of the House to do. Yeah. That's what I think we got elected to come up here and do, and that's what I would support.
Well, and I think there is common ground on securing the border. Certainly, right? So that's a positive. But at the end of the day, you've got your colleagues pushing back on, all of the spending continuing even for another 30 days. They don't want it for 5 seconds. Do you think we'll see a government shutdown?
I think at this point, based on, the clip that you just showed of McCarthy and his comments, he's not going to quit on trying to get something passed. Again, my advice would be to take the Limit, Save, Grow Act, couple that with the H.R. 2. Every member voted for that. It's a conservative bill. Send that to Chuck Schumer and let them snub their nose at it and let them be the ones that shut down the government and let Biden say, oh, that's not enough spending because you're cutting spending and we want to spend ourselves into oblivion and the economy that he has created, and then stand for the principles that America's put us here for. If that means shutting down the government so that we can shut down our border, stop the crisis at the border, the deaths of fentanyl, and stop this crisis of spending that we have in our country, then I'm willing to stand for that.
And you're standing for that at a time that you're also, trying to deepen this probe into allegations of bribery against a sitting president. The House scheduled the first impeachment inquiry hearing for next Thursday. California Governor Gavin Newsom is mocking it. He's mocking the whole process. Here's what he said. Watch.
An impeachment inquiry? Give me a break. This is student government. Student government. Threatening debt again, or rather threatening a government shutdown again after we went through that process with the debt ceiling? This is student government. This is a joke. Ready, fire, aim? I mean, this is a perversity of what the founding fathers ever conceived of and imagined.
Congressman, your thoughts? He's outraged.
Yeah, the perversity of the founding fathers was impeaching Donald Trump for a phone call to a foreign leader that, of course, he supported. We have gone through investigations. There is a plethora of evidence of crimes that have been committed by Joe Biden's family that he was involved in. Just the Ukraine Burisma issue of firing the prosecutor, then Hunter gets $5 million. We need to move forward on that. The American people should stand for justice and not allow him to commit crimes. We have the evidence of more than $20 million that his family has gotten for actions and meetings and things that he was involved in as vice president and president. I certainly won't stand for that. I support us moving forward with the impeachment inquiry. And I think at some point, once we have all that evidence, have the proceedings move forward, we move forward to a vote.
So when are you going to subpoena the family members then and ask them what they were getting paid for?
I support doing that now. I wish we would have done that a little while ago.
Yeah.
I know there's some strategy about that because they know that that's going to end up in court, and the Biden family is going to push back on that. But subpoena their financial records, subpoena Hunter's financial records, take it to court.
Yep.
The American people are owed those answers to where all that money went.
Here's Sarah Bedford. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, Congressman Steube. You know, this impeachment hearing next week could be really crucial in setting the tone for the rest of the impeachment inquiry. And one of the challenges that House Republicans have had so far is the complexity of the Hunter Biden case. You've got nearly 24 shell companies. You've got dozens and dozens of obscure wire transfers, things like that. How can Republicans balance the fact-finding mission, the fact-finding component of the impeachment inquiry with the need to, frankly, start telling this story to the American people in a way that more people can understand just how serious these allegations are?
Yeah, you're right. And I hope that Mr. Comer and the Oversight Committee is going to do just that and lay that out. Lay it out piece by piece, but with a timeline, where the money came from, why the money came from, actions that Joe Biden took, like firing the prosecutor in Burisma, and then Biden gets $5 million.
Wow.
The meeting with the Russian oligarch, she gives $3.1 million to Hunter, and then they have a dinner in Washington, D.C. Things that are tied to the money that they received. And the fact that they went to all of these shell companies, there's a reason that they set it up this way, and move forward with the subpoena on Hunter Biden's financial records. That money went to his accounts, then what did he do with it?
Yeah.
Did the money then go to Joe Biden? Did Joe Biden get his 10%? I suspect that he did.
Yeah.
But let's show the American people that that's exactly what happened.
Well, you're referring to the email, 10% for the big guy. But, you know all of this, and so does the DOJ, right? I mean, Todd Pyro, jump in here, because the DOJ was aware of all of this money. You've got Attorney General Merrick Garland testifying in front of the House Judiciary Committee today. Fox obtained a preview of the opening statement. He's expected to defend the Department of Justice's credibility. He'll tell lawmakers that his job is not to take orders from the president. Congressman, I want to get your take, but Todd, jump in on that first.
Yeah, my question for you, Congressman, is there's been reports that there is a fissure growing between the DOJ, specifically Merrick Garland, and Joe Biden. Are you buying that? Do you think this is some real anger that's going on between the two of them, or is this a smokescreen to sort of create this veneer of, hey, look, I'm Merrick Garland and I'm impartial?
No, absolutely not. There's no divide between them. Merrick Garland has been doing the defense business for his boss, Joe Biden, the entire time that he's been in that position. They've been playing defense for him, going all the way back on all of these crimes that Hunter Biden committed in 2014 and 2015, stymieing the IRS whistleblowers who were in charge and leading the investigation. And one of the questions that I would ask him is, who's lying? Is David Weiss lying that you're the ones calling the shots, or are you lying that David Weiss is the one in charge of the investigation? Because the IRS whistleblowers, under oath, testified that Weiss said that he wasn't in control of the decision making, and then publicly says Weiss says, I'm the one that's making the decisions, and Merrick Garland says, I'm not involved in any of this. David Weiss has full prosecutorial discretion, which I think is complete BS, and the American people know that's crap for the sweetheart deal for Hunter Biden, and the facts flush that out, and either David Weiss is lying or Merrick Garland is lying.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that story. Somebody leaked this story that they're having a fight, Joe Biden.
Oh, no,
and
there's
Merrick Garland.
dissension
Right.
because they're standing up to each other. Do I have time for a question for the Congress?
Sure, real quick.
I don't want the Bidens to soak up all the time with Merrick Garland. You've got his department going after traditional Catholics, against parents who stand up at school board meetings. Congressman, quickly, do you have 12 hours with the guy? How are you going to get to all the things the DOJ has messed up over the past 2 years?
Yeah, and that's the challenge having sat through a lot of these hearings over the years is you only have 5 minutes as a member. And I know Jim Jordan is very good at having everybody kind of go through where they want to go with their questioning. And I always like to build on what the other members have asked, because in 5 minutes, you can't really get into a lot of details. So if the members work together to build on a lot of those questions, and you're right, there is a litany list of issues that the DOJ has weaponized against the American people, school boards, all of that type of stuff that we need to get to the bottom to.
All right, we'll be watching, Congressman. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Anytime.
All right, Greg Steube. We'll be right back.